The next session has been put together by our dear friend and partner on Race Industry Week 2022, Speed Sport. So we are being joined by Jonathan Bird, who is going to step in and is going to bring on a very grassroots panel that is very important for all of us in the industry, because it's great to talk about NASCAR, IndyCar, F1 and everything, but grassroots is also where a lot of the activity is happening. And my understanding is you are bringing some panelists that are doing extraordinary things to engage with the audience and are packing their grandstands, providing great entertainment.
Well, that's right, Francisca, and thank you so much for having me. And I appreciate our friends with Speed Sport allowing me the opportunity to moderate this panel. I know that many of you probably wanted to see Ralph Sheheen and his face for television. I have a face for radio, I like to say. But nonetheless, I am glad to be here to host this panel. We've got a gentleman from DerbyTees.tv. His name is Steve Bucknam. He's the, and the Demolition Derbies, it's important to us at the racetrack that I promote and general manage the Indianapolis Speedrome. We also have Rod Knock coming on board from Diesel Motorsports, and the diesel drag racing type thing is just very, very popular as well. And then Dave Nelson with he's the co-owner and executive vice president of Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pulling Association. I'm excited to talk to him because tractor pulling maybe has a negative connotation. Some people, they think back, country fairs and everything, but he's going to tell us all about why that is not the case. And we're excited to talk about who we are and like we say, the grassroots. But it's really important for the sport of racing. There is no NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One, drag racing, NHRA without us short tracks and us organizations that are putting on the grassroots racing at the local level.
Yeah,
Jonathan,
right.
I love how diverse our panel is, and I wanted to make sure tractor pulling was represented here today. So thank you.
Excellent. So, Jonathan, we'll give you the comments for the next 50 minutes. You're in charge.
All right. Thanks so much, Francisca. And welcome, gentlemen. We have Ron Knock again with Diesel Motorsports, Dave Nelson with the Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pulling Association, as well as Steve Bucknam from DerbyTees.tv. Gentlemen, welcome to the panel. We are excited to be together, and I know we're going to talk about some really exciting things.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks very much. Let's start off. Oh, I appreciate it. Steve, let's start with you. I think we have some kinship between what we do at the Indianapolis Speedrome and figure eight racing and what you all do with Derby Tees. So introduce yourself and explain what DerbyTees.tv is doing.
Sure. Derby Tees TV broadcasts national level demolition derby events over the internet for pay-per-view purposes. We bring Demolition Derby to the masses. It's really helping to promote the sport in a new and exciting way.
What is Demolition Derby in modern times now? We've got the, obviously there's a Demolition Derby. People think county fairs and a whole bunch of redneck hillbillies just putting together the cars and smash them all up. But tell us what's happening in derby racing in modern times here in 2022.
Well, the great thing about Demolition Derby is that there's really something for everyone in this sport. Whether you're a newcomer with no knowledge, there's a place for you. And if you're a veteran of the sport with your entire bankroll, there's a place for you as well. Modern Demolition Derby now really is not that misconception of, redneck hillbilly kind of thing. While there is still some of that in the sport, there's so much technology, science, geometry that is being used to make these cars stronger, harder, more durable. It's not just throw some weld at it. It's actually like, where should we put the right pressure? Where should we triangulate these reinforcements to make things work the way they do? And there's a lot of thought and technology and science that goes into it.
Well, it's interesting you said technology and science. I know that we in the short track business and all those, at the grassroots level, it's very important, I believe, to let our local legislators and people know how important racing is in the field of STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Those are the jobs of the future, according to every politician who wants to see that happen. So let me talk with Ron real fast. Ron, in regards to, we talked about the modernization and what everything like that with Diesel Motorsports. Diesel's kind of considered, polluting and old and, and dirty, but I think that's probably furthest from the case, wouldn't you say? And don't forget to unmute yourself there, Ron. I don't know what's happening. You're still muted on my screen. Is there anyone else here, Ron? There you go. I think you unmute yourself there.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Haven't. Hear you talk.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, we're in mostly rural community areas, and most of these rural communities, they're used to see people. I mean, that's part of the county fair perform at our events. Are licensed vehicles for the streets. So it's more, and their competitors, sure, they drive vehicles to haul them in with, and they're with the current regulations. A big issue for us. That's many years. We've been doing this for 15 years. Rural communities are used to this kind of activity. Love to come and see it, and even the new people that come out, the entertainment's still available. And they see 3,000 horsepower tractor truck events, drag race. We have New Media, Pennsylvania, where and sled pulling going on at the same time. Sled pulling track right next to the drag strip. Line the areas of the pickups. It's like a huge tailgate party. Bring the coolers, bring the barbecues out. Drag racing and sled pulling at the same time.
Very cool. Very cool. And we, it's part of the big thing with grassroots. It's family. That is for sure. People getting together and seeing things. And let's talk to bring Dave Nelson in, the co-owner and executive vice president of Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pulling Association. Probably a lot of the same things that Ron does. David, go ahead and talk about what you guys do and how important and what differentiates yourself with everything with the pulling world.
Yeah. So the Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pulling, we are a national sanctioning body, to where we're going to produce over 73 events this next year from the Mississippi West. So that's county fairs, those are private racetracks, those are private venues that are bringing us in. We have about 350 members, to where everybody thinks tractor pulling. You think of your grandpa, your dad taking the 40-20 off the plow in the middle of summer or off the cultivator and turning it up and going to the county fair tractor pull. This is much different. We kind of say this is the NASCAR of truck and tractor pulling, to where our modifieds with multi-engine Hemis, I mean, they're up towards 3,000 horsepower apiece with 2 of them strapped on there. We got triple Chevys mounted on a frame in our modified class, V12 Allisons. We got twin turbines all on one frame for the modifieds. And then what we have is what looks like a tractor, a farm tractor, but it's all chrome tube molly frames built, roll cages. I mean, they're up towards 4,500 horsepower with
Wow.
four turbos being strapped on the top of the motor. We have pickups. We got the 3.0 diesel trucks. We got a little bit of 2.6 diesel trucks. So we have a variety of both tractors, trucks, modified tool drives, to where it's the NASCAR of tractor pulling, as you would know it at your county fair.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate hearing that, and I want to kind of give a little bit of background to what we do here at the Indianapolis Speedrome. And I think I can kind of show. Some people will think figure eight racing. They think about that it's a bunch of guys, you know, like a demolition derby car, or it's something that looks totally different. I'm going to play in the background here. I hope I can do this right. Highlights of our what we call a World Figure Eight Championship at the Indianapolis Speedrome. And I think maybe you might be able to see it, but I'll go ahead and do that and see what happens here with the thing. But these are our figure eight cars. They have evolved through the years. You know, the sport of figure eight racing started at the Indianapolis Speedrome, where we had full frame cars like Camaros and stuff like that, when my dad was a car owner back in the 80s. And they have evolved to purpose-built, like you said, you know, chrome, molly, Dulco. Some guys have some, you know, some pretty exotic materials in their cages and things of that nature. But our World Figure Eight Championship is ran in September. This is the 46th annual event, and cars from all across the country come to race in this event. It's very cool in terms of the intersection, the crossover. I've been watching it for 40 years, and not that I get to sit down ever again running the racetrack. I still jump out of my seat. The close calls, the crossover, are what's really exciting. And you know, when you talk about you know, what is the modern time? You know, this is the modern figure eight racing. This is what we do at the Indianapolis Speedrome on a weekly basis. And these are the cars and stars. And we've got a great relationship with Speed Sport, who've helped us promote this, or help promote our track and the sport and everything like that. But this is a 3-hour-long race, and we've been really blessed to have full stands and everything like that, which kind of goes back to what I'd like to continue talking about. And I'll go ahead and close this off so people don't have to see that anymore, and we'll go back to the screen. But I'm excited to hear about crowds at all of your events. You know, so grassroots people looking for something to do, entertainment on a weekend, on a Saturday night. Ron, talk about the crowds at your events and working with the promoters.
Well, the promoter is ourselves. And the past 6 months, we've had very good attendance at the pad. Never seemed to fall off. It fell off a little much. The past 3 continue holding events because they were enclosed, and they are outdoor, obviously. He had larger crowds during COVID because no one else was doing events, and we even had local club about trucks, diesel lane, gas trucks, but you know, and tractors mount cars. They won't let us do anything. Bring them on out. So, you know, we continue to, because still some of the cities are shutting off the venues, and we aren't going to turn down any motorsport, and it's all about motorsports. And guess what? Our truck love cars too. They love UTV, ATV. That's motorsports. So when we bring out the other, you know, we can include them because the promoter, but we've been a sanctioning body for 15 years. Other promoters have to use rules, which they don't have truck classes. We do. So we have our own insurance. These people want to come out and have fit them in, you know. Crowds have been really good.
That's great. That's great. I'd like to go to Steve and talk about that as well. People are still coming to demo derbies. At the Speedrome, we have 3 wild nights a year. It always include a front wheel drive demo derby. Talk about what is the I know we do front wheel drive demo derbies. That's because the big cars are harder and harder to come by. What do you see in the future happening with regulation and cars and all that sort of stuff with demo derbies? What's the future look like?
Well, I guess, one of the questions that gets asked a lot is like, what happens when the old cars are gone, and there's different classes of demolition derby really for anyone who's interested. And there's even lawnmower demolition derbies now. there's front wheel
I'm
drive.
gonna write that down because I need to promote the owner of my racetrack, lawnmower demo derbies. And I have one of those.
Derby enthusiasts are ingenious, and they're resourceful, and they'll use whatever they can find to go out there and get their fix doing demolition derby. What we're seeing really in the sport is a transition to what they're calling an 80s and newer class. So a lot of the older cars are really hard to find now. They're more expensive, and to make things more accessible for everyone, they've changed the rule set to be something that's 1980 or newer. And you're seeing mostly a lot of the Ford Crown Victorias, things like that. That's kind of the go-to vehicle in that class. I did want to jump in real quick and say, you're at the Speedrome. I've actually competed there. Spent about 20 years, but I competed in a national championship back in the day there at the Speedrome, and I thought it was a great facility.
That's really cool. So you worked with the Cohen family back then, and competed when they ran the Speedrome, and yeah, demo derby is a huge thing, and it's also fun. You see a lot of racetracks. I don't know how much you do on asphalt, since we are an asphalt track, but we've watered the racetrack down a couple of times just to make it a little different for the fans, and a little bit for the drivers.
Yeah, it's nice to give the fans a different look, right? And we talked about the crowds a little bit. Demolition Derby sells out crowds at everywhere we go, whether it's a county fair, which is standing room only. They usually oversell the grandstands. Or what we call a national level event, which a lot of times a demolition derby promoter has, rented the grounds of a fairground, something along those lines, and they're putting the event on themselves. And the crowds, we go to a particular event, it's called Bash for Cash. It's in Ohio. It's a 4-day outdoor derby. They have 3,000 camping spots on the grounds, and those camping spots are almost completely filled by the end of the weekend. And there's literally thousands of fans there to watch, vend, enjoy themselves. It becomes kind of a derby festival. And and you mentioned family, the aspect of that is unmatched at these events. It's everything from Power Wheels demolition derby for the young kids to youth classes, which is young teens, and then of course the full-size adult classes. And their families are doing it together.
That's cool. Back in the 70s, I was told, before I was born, I was told there were motorcycle demo derbies at the Speedrome. Are there still motorcycle demo derbies, and how does that work?
I haven't seen one in a few years now, but they were similar to how derbies first started, which was just as a promoted spectacle as opposed to a competition. So the motorcycle demolition derbies that I am familiar with, a promoter would bring several bikes in, and they would have people come in and ride them, and they would just put on a show for the fans. And they're a little dangerous, but it's like anything else. It's more implied danger, because these guys, they're not out to hurt each other, and they know where to hit and what to do. But that's what makes it exciting for the fans.
Well, it's talking about exciting for the fans and putting on a show. Let's go back to Dave and talk about, you mentioned yourself as like the NASCAR of track and trucker polling, and we know what NASCAR does and how important the fans are to NASCAR, and put on a show. It seems like some people talk about the show of NASCAR at some point, but in any event, Dave, I'd love to hear your talk about your shows and how those really apply and how they work and for the fans and for the racetrack promoter?
Yeah. So, I mean, our shows are anywhere from 3 to 5 hours long. It all depends upon how many classes are booked there by the promoter, and then how many competitors actually show up. Our competitors both race or they pull compete for a purse there at the event. But what they're also doing is they're adding points every event for end of year payout. I mean, so this last year we paid out about 1.6 million in the Outlaws of purse and end of year points. And so, I mean, it's something that's addictive to our competitors that are coming every event. So we're at county fairs, we're at big, large venues. I mean, we've kind of ranged from 2,500 to 13,000 from the grandstands being full. We just did one out in Windsor, Colorado this last year. It was an amazing setting, just in a big bowl. You could see the mountains in the background, and there was 13,000 people just sitting on the side hill grass watching the event. And so we were able to keep going during COVID. Did we have all the events? No, because some of the cities were shut down. But our crowds were just tremendous because everybody just wanted to get outside, and we were able to do that at some of those venues during COVID. To your guys is talking about what's next, what's that next generation? This last year, we just branded the Outlaw Young Guns, to where it's getting the young generation in. I mean, we all know the Richard Petty's and all those names of the old timers that have been in the sport forever. We have that same thing in tractor pulling, same with Demolition Derby and Diesel Motorsports. So how do we get that young generation? How do we get the son or daughter, or how do we get the grandson competing? And so this last year, of our 350 members, we had 35 members in our national division and 10 in our Heartland division, which is more out west in western Nebraska and Colorado, ages 16 to 25 years old. They're either a competitor themselves or an employee of ours, which was just 2 of them. But this Young Gun program, I took and sold it to Titan International, Titan Tire, the maker of Goodyear Ag tires, to where Titan is the brand sponsor of the Outlaw Young Guns. And I know of at least 5 or 8 stories where Grandpa was kind of starting to hang it up. But with the unveiling of this and pulling this young generation in, I mean, it's just going crazy of getting these young people in the seat. And Grandpa can't be more proud to put little Joey in the seat and watch him in front of that grandstand, pulling that truck that he's pulled for how many years, or buying a second one. And little Joey's got his own truck or tractor. And so it's been, to us, we're growing, but it's how do we interact with the crowd? Those fans out there they're our fans. They want to get to know us better. So how do we let them get to know little Joey or senior Bill, who's the 65-year-old that's been the tractor puller that we all remember? And so it's been fun kind of just branding ourselves along. Speed Sport, you guys are associated with Speed Sport. We have live streaming. We have our own live stream channel. So all of our events are live streamed out. There's a subscription cost by event or by the month or by the season, to where really trying to reach out past. During COVID, what did we all learn? We all had to stay home. So it's kind of taught us DoorDash and all these things that we're seeing coming out now. Sometimes people aren't going out like they used to. So how do we go to them in their living room or on their iPad, wherever they're at? And so live stream has been a huge investment, but also it's been a huge capture back for us, for our fan base, to capture out with them.
You hit on a topic that I was going to cover, and so streaming and youth, that's definitely 2 things I want to talk about with everybody. I'd like to talk to Ron. So we heard about families and young people from Steve and Demo Derby. Dave, you talked about your youth. What's the youth movement in Diesel Motorsports? And then talk about what you've done, what you had to do during the pandemic, and how important is streaming, if there is anything. I'm sorry if I didn't know for sure, for Diesel Motorsports, Ron.
Well, I tell you what, most of our competitors are the youth market, and that's because these guys. And tell you what, they have a lot of energy, and you'll find a lot of the young guys going, "What do you do to your truck? I don't care if it was their grandpa's and it's got a little rust. Take pride in building these things and how they can compete. I love to live. Honestly, I'm a kid at heart, and it can tell you I'm still that way with the youth. And we have a lot of youngsters with. Years ago, we kind of circuits and let our state groups handle that, and we do stand. I start working with a lot of the young diesel shows, and I go in and work with a lot of them that are at the events, hire them to come and help us work the events. I mean, these diesel service businesses, they're not in care of the municipality trucks, the snow plows, the garbage trucks, stuff that's simple. And you know what most people don't read? Over 80% of our service out the United States, including the semis that bring. So these guys are rural America and suburban. So I really love working with the youth market. As far as rural areas, it's tough to get streaming, but we're working on getting some new satellite groups coming in to do our streams. And, they're just not equipped for a lot of the modern day facilities with them. And, a lot of these track owners are open to it, are changing, and the kids are keeping our sport alive. So they're just, a lot of them are saying, sure, Ron, let's get it going. We have a lot on all the social media. You'll see a lot of the people in the stand. Lots of times we'll even announce our wife on because, quite frankly, in some of these areas, usually when you check your phone and there's one bar left. But, a lot of our workers are young people. The Wyotech and Ohio Tech colleges years. In fact, one of our bring their students out and help us pay shirts and money, and they get to meet some industries, that are working in the diesel truck.
Very cool. I'll get to my story about streaming and youth, but Steve, let's talk about streaming. I mean, I think you're at the forefront if you've done it for the last 7 years. I mean, we've only done it for a couple, and I think everybody's kind of getting to the point, but I think you were probably one of the forerunners of streaming in motorsports.
Well, Derby Tees TV definitely was. Derby Tees TV actually started in 2011. I've only been with the company the last 7 years. So when it started, it was just a laptop, a camera, and a tripod, and no different angles, no commentators, nothing like that. And now we have 2 mobile studios, all the equipment needed to stream that. But 4 videographers, 2 cameramen, 2 different producers. And so if needed, we can actually split and do 2 events on the same weekend, which we do sometimes. It's really been a labor of love to get this done. And it's really thanks to Mark Klein, who owns Derby Tees TV. He's also a Demolition Derby guy. And he's put his heart and soul into the business and continues to invest in it to be on top, because we want to bring the best product possible to our sport.
Financially, how big is the streaming side of the business for you all? I mean, I know it's about TV, it's obviously a big part of that, but when you work with the promoters and things of that nature who maybe don't do it, and they come on board, how does that work?
Are you asking like as far as like how do we monetize it or?
Right, yeah, revenue sharing, and then monetizing it and all that sort of and all that. Yeah.
So our business model is we go into events, we work with promoters, and we sell our own pay-per-view tickets for those events. And we offer a percentage of those sales as a commission back to the promoter in exchange for the rights to have that broadcast. And so we like to give back. We also, beyond the sales side of things, we also sponsor different purses for the payouts, things like that. And a lot of times we sponsor individual teams and drivers to kind of just give back into the sport.
Very cool. Yeah, giving back to the sport and growing the sport and keeping it going. At the Indianapolis Speedrome, we have really put a focus on our junior divisions. For instance, our junior fast car division. We took over the racetrack 6 years ago. Our junior division, our karting division, maybe had single digits on most night. And what we did was we basically dumbed the cars down. We said you had to run our motor because the cheating was rampant. We took the motor in-house and said you had to run our motor. It's just a box stock type project type of motor. And through enforcement and staying on top of everything, our division regularly is in the 40s on a Saturday night. So we've got a great junior fast car division, and we've seen the kids through the years moving up into other divisions. Our factory front wheel drive, where they're running Legends cars, stock cars, and a couple of the guys who actually started in junior fast cars 10, 15 years ago have made it all the way up to our late model figure 8 division. So definitely a huge thing for that happening. We've also created our own mini late model. It's kind of like the size of a Legends car, but it's a purpose-built chassis. We run some of the same components, but most of it is a really cool, just a mini late model, and they run on the oval and the figure 8. And it's in the way to get a stepping stone. If you don't want to go straight into a big full-size late model, it's a great way to learn the sport of figure 8 racing because it is an art. The only way to get really good at it is to turn a lot of laps, and so it's a great way to get laps. And so that's a huge thing for the youth. I think the youth is definitely, Ron, you definitely mentioned that the youth, the country depends on diesel motorsport, on diesel, and knowing the diesel industry and knowing the diesel motors and being able to work on them. That is, our country doesn't work without diesel. I don't care, how many years we want to get to electric, semis and stuff like that. It's diesel going to be a huge thing for many, many years to come. Getting kids interested, excited in demo derby and things of that nature. And like you said, Steve, I think it's a big thing with science and technology and understanding. They may not know they're doing STEM, but they're doing it. And then pulling and those big motors, those big things. I think the same thing, Dave. I think the young guns and your young outlaw, your stars of the future, all those are going to be really big. And I'll just give my one little thought about streaming. I think we all kind of realized during the pandemic how important streaming was. The Speedrome, and we're in Marion County in Indianapolis, and we were one of the strictest counties in Indiana. So we were not even allowed to open until June of 2020. And we could only have competitors. We couldn't have any fans for the first 2 weeks. And we had done some streaming with our World Figure 8 Championship, and we quickly partnered up with the Speed Sport platform and Rivet and all the great folks, Chris Grainer and Joe and Joe Tripp and Ralph. They all got us on board, and we were excited to be able to bring our fans our racing. And that has just grown into a weekly thing, and people are expecting it. It's a great little revenue piece for us, where we have a Speedrome.tv subscription, and I believe, and if you guys think at all, a lot of promoters were scared to death of television and streaming. And I think more and more promoters are realizing how important it is that it's not affecting the gate. It might affect the gate on a night where weather is such a huge iffy thing. It might affect the gate, but they'll pay to watch online. So you're going to get the revenue in some way, shape, or form. Go ahead, Steve.
Just real quick, you mentioned the poor weather. We just did an event this last weekend called the Turkey Derby The first day was beautiful weather. The second day was cold and rainy. And we had lots of viewers who were at the event physically there and chose to sit in their truck in the pit area and watch it on their phone and stay dry and warm. So that streaming service, it really can help just provide that extra coverage for your already existing fan base.
It's all part of delivering to the fans, part of the experience, because everybody, all of us here are competing for the entertainment dollar. You know, we are definitely trying to get the entertainment dollar from the fan and from, you know, and there's so many entertainment options. You know, maybe in the rural areas it works out a little easier, but when I'm in the middle of the capital city of a state, in an urban area, we definitely have many options for people to choose to. So to be able to get them to come out to our races, this is just another aspect of delivering value for the fans and things of that nature. So I appreciate you all letting me go through all those types of things. Dave, let's go back to you. I'd love to hear more about what you all are doing. Social media. How big is social media? Let's talk about social media for all of our organizations.
I was going to talk about that a little bit, that on piggybacking with live stream, of maybe somebody's not going to subscribe to the live stream, but our social media page, Facebook, is our #1, to where we've got a tremendous, I mean, we reached just this year, 23.5 million people were reached. And
wow.
Video, if you can get video out there, if you can go live at your event for a little while, let's say you have no live streaming ability right now, dude, start building your content, start building your watch audience base with free Facebook Live. You got, I mean, your 10-year-old kid can hold the phone and he can get better shots than any of us on this page here, from the standpoint of social media is where it's at. Our culture is changing. It's not about buying a ticket and sitting in the grandstand. Yes, our promoters need that. And yes, that'll always be our foundation. But our people, our fans are mobile. They're gone. They're doing something else. They're out demo derbying when their cousin is tractor pulling, but he'll pay for a subscription to watch his buddy or his friend over doing demo derby. So social media, we have a marketing company. It's called Beer Money Pulling Team. It's kind of a crazy name, but they are tractor pullers, and that is what they focus on. And they're the geek squad of social media in truck and tractor pulling. And between us and them, we have 73,000 followers on our Facebook page that are just watching truck and tractor pulling, to where, I mean, I would get on social media before live stream, build your audience base, and it'll just bring your live stream right on. But our fans want to see us. And you know what? What a better way. I don't know how many times I've checked my phone here, just even when you guys were talking, just checking what's going on. Of social media is amazing.
Steve, what about social media in the Derby world? I mean, that's, you know, I think it lends itself, the clips, cars crashing, that's very social media, YouTube worthy type things.
Yeah, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. Guys, if you're not on TikTok, Dave, you need to be on there. It's the most rapidly growing. Those are the ways to go right now. We do a lot of the Facebook Live free look-ins. We'll do, you know, if we have an event that has, you know, 7 or 8 classes, we'll do one heat that is the Facebook free look-in, kind of tease it, say, you know, get your ticket and come on and see the rest of the show. But beyond the fan side of things, social media has changed our sport completely, because someone who's interested in competing, they can literally just jump on Facebook, they can search for a Demolition Derby group, and they can ask the question, hey, I'm new, how do I get involved in this sport? And the guys that have been doing it for years can go right on there and give them step-by-step directions on how to find a car and what to do to it. In a lot of ways, I think it has made things kind of too easy, where some of these younger drivers didn't have to pay the same dues that the older drivers did. But I think we need that to continue the sport and the growth that we need, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, I hear that a lot. You know, guys will buy late model figure 8 race cars, and you know, they're buying the best. They're buying the brand new chassis and the brand new, putting $25,000, $50,000 worth of stuff on their race car, and they're like, why? And then, you know, they're languishing. They don't know what they're doing. They can't work on the race car. They have no idea what the race car does, but they just think that, I've got all the best stuff. The same guy is the guy who's won 15 features in the past 2 years. Why am I not doing that? So paying their dues is a very big thing, I think, Steve. And to hear it about in Demo Derby, guys got to pay their dues. The only way to pay your dues is to get crashed a bunch and lose Demo Derbies. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, and respect and reputation is a real big thing, and I think in any motorsport, but Demolition Derby especially, this is a sport where people will literally tear each other apart in the arena, but then they'll go into the pit area, and those same people who tore your car apart will give you every spare part they have in their truck to get you back out on the track.
And that is one of the cool aspects of the grassroots, the short tracks, the local racers. That is a story you hear multiple times on multiple occasions, and that is not just now, but that goes back to probably the early days of auto racing. Whenever the first guy built the first car, the second guy, they said the first race happened when the second car was built, and so I'm sure that probably was the same way back then. We're on social media and Diesel. You talked about it being such a youth dominated sport. So I'm assuming that social media is huge for Diesel Motorsports.
It's really huge for us, and we start as a youth market. I mean, these kids in the rear 90% of the time. Coming up, we have probably 1,000 followers, and during the months of the events, we have probably close visitors a week. So we're huge channels. It varies. We post videos, we post trucks, sponsor announcement range, and sometimes I'll even post, I know our demographic would be it political, non-political stories, my research things that they go, hey, put it up on our social media, because they love it. It's a Diesel Motorsports channel, and the 18 to 35 guys. When we first started this, I mean, we actually original diesel only event, not too far, and we will be back 29th for Thunder and Muncie. That was then. Diesel trucks were not allowed tracks or county fairs. So we started doing it on our location of anywhere in the country. It's grown since 2001. This year it'll be truck, my sled pulling, it'll be dirt drags, dyno competition, trucks, and guess what? More trucks. It's a fun time, and our young people come and sometimes surprise you. They really will. They'll surprise you. At the sad thing doing here, there's a colored fender on the 2 colored doors, like that thing. It's a trick. That thing can go to anybody on the track, and they know it, and that's a reason. So these young people think of many different ways. Have fun with the sport. I tell you what, it's fun on a weekly basis, because we have about always something in between. So yeah, we have plenty of content, videos and photos. if you can imagine how many of that, the old ones will go, hey, remember this truck? Go, oh yeah, I was there when I did that one.
Yeah.
So
Vintage is huge.
it's all
Vintage is
part
huge.
of entertainment. That's what we're, like you said earlier, it's what we're here, and that's what we're doing.
Cool. Very nice. Gentlemen, I think we have about 7 minutes, so I wanted to hit a couple more topics and give everybody kind of their last word and pitch their thing. Steve, you talked about TikTok and different platforms, and it just still makes my head spin trying to think of. I thought I had to get on Instagram, and now I need to get on TikTok. So it's getting to the thing. But I think what I want to kind of get everybody's take on personalities, and why I bring that up is F1 has a huge resurgence in America, and I believe that most people can pinpoint the Netflix show driven on Netflix about Formula One, and the drivers being highlighted and those personalities. And now look what F1's doing. Now there's going to be 4 US races now, where there was barely one. Personalities, Dave, how does that help your sport, bringing out the personalities and getting the fans to connect to those drivers?
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest thing that we're trying to do is we've done the young guns. We're also branding, in the process of branding, the Outlaw Legends. Those are the older gentlemen and ladies that are the veterans of the sport. But we do a ton. We really try and get a lot of times, a lot of our pits are open to the public. Depends upon the promoter's liability and the insurance and things like that. But a lot of times we're trying to get the public out in the pits before and even after the show. A lot of times after the show is when there's more interaction, because that's when dad is coming by with his kids or whatever and saying, that's the tractor that blew up, or that's the one that went the farthest, or that's the one with the young gal driving, or whatever. And then taking the tractors, the vehicles, tractors, trucks, vehicles up behind the grandstand prior to the event, or even having events the night before down at the local Casey's or at the local tavern on Main Street of this small town, of just building, obviously there's awareness, but just trying to get closer to the fans. And I mean, I'm a tractor puller, you're a race car driver and all that. I mean, we're just normal, ordinary people that have these fun hobbies, and people are our fans. And so the more we can connect with them, social media, live streaming, and from the grandstand, the more we can touch, the more we can make hero autograph cards. A lot of times we'll do hats that are given away with autographs and things like that. Of when you go to a Monster Jam truck thing, the kids come back with just all this stuff. I mean, they remember that it's hanging in the room and things like that. So we're trying to do a lot more of that type of just fan interaction with truck and tractor pulling.
Steve, personalities in the sport, you've got to be kind of crazy between being, racing in the intersection of a figure-8 car or hitting another car on purpose over and over and over again. So I'm sure there's some great personalities in the sport that you guys like to cover.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like any other sport. There's big names that people recognize when you're in these circles. We have found from a broadcasting perspective that a lot of those drivers who are quote unquote big names, good at what they do, are a little camera shy. And so we, and myself particularly, I do a lot of the interviewing. I've sort of had to drag a lot of these guys kind of sort of kicking and screaming into the spotlight, because they deserve to be recognized. The fans want to put faces to the names. These guys kind of are embodied by their car on the track, especially to the fans in the stands. They may just say, oh, that's the number 86. I know him because he won last time, but they don't know who Bob Whitaker is. And so we try to bring that person into the spotlight and make him kind of a household name. People recognize him as a person, not just as a roof sign.
Absolutely. And Ron, there's a couple of minutes left, but I want to hear about the personalities in Diesel Motorsports and what it takes to work on these cars, drive these trucks and drive these trucks, and the personalities that has these gentlemen bring and ladies bring to the equation.
Well, being rural people, I tell you what, they're entertaining. And yes, we have as big as their trucks. Yes, they have fun with it, and but like Steve compete hard, they compete heavy, they talk with each other. They'll help each other. They'll trade. One guy's truck quits running. They'll go that part off my truck and help you out. So bands, but out when they're competing, yes, there's some huge.
Dave, we've got just a couple of minutes left. Folks are watching, what's the best way to take in outlaw polling in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, so live stream is outlawpolling.tv. Outlawpolling.tv is our live stream, or on Facebook, it's Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pulling. Are the two best ways to find us. Internet, web-based is outlawpolling.com. So those are the best ways to find us, but we're everything west of the Mississippi from a national sanctioning body and actually starting to head east of the river. So
very nice. Very cool. It's great been talking to you, Steve. derbytees.tv. How can everybody get a hold of you and watch your events in this upcoming year and even during the off season?
Yeah, we don't really have an off season anymore. We have shows at least once a month all year. Some months are busier than others, but you can reach us at derbytees.tv or on derbynation.tv, which is sort of, I like to say that Derby Nation is sort of like the Netflix of Demolition Derby. Several producers use that platform. Lots of great footage on there. We've also got our TikTok, our Instagram, our Facebook. Our Facebook page, derbytees.tv, has got over 50,000 likes right now and a reach of 2 million in the last year. So let's keep that going. Come and see us.
Fantastic. Ron, how can folks get a hold of you all, and how can they take in more Diesel Motorsports?
Dieselmotorsports.us and Diesel Motorsports, and guess what? We'll end up 6 layers down format you can find. Diesel Motorsports.
Very good. Anybody interested in figure 8 racing at the highest level, you can go to speedrome.com, also speedrome.tv for all of that. Go on YouTube. There's a ton of stuff on there as well. But the sport of figure 8 racing is a lot of really cool things in the future. And I see that Judy and Francisque have joined us. So I believe our time is up. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. It's been fun talking about all this stuff. And we're really excited about what the grassroots continues, even in this kind of scary economy. But guys are going to want to race, and they're going to keep racing. And we'll just see and be able to be a participant in 2023. So thank you so much. And Francisque, thanks for letting me do this. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, of course, Jonathan, you did a terrific job. Absolutely brilliant.
I'll have you on again.
Yes, and good to see you, Ron. And good, thank you to Steve and Dave for joining us.
Registering on ePartrade is easy. To start, click on the Join for Free button on the homepage. First, search your company to see if it's already in our database. If you see your company on the list, click on it to select it. Then, choose Claim Company if you are one of the decision makers, an owner, marketing person, or main company contact. Or choose Join Company if you are an employee, and press Continue. If you couldn't find your company in our database, select Register a New Company. On the following page, fill out your name, email, phone number, job title, and choose a secure password. If you chose Register a New Company, you'll need to choose your business type. Select Supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose Racing Business if you're looking to source new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose Race Team if you own or are a member of a professional race team. Then, enter your company name. Please provide a website, Facebook page, or LinkedIn if you have one, and choose to either claim or join the company. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Finally, click Register Now and your registration will be submitted for approval. An email will be sent to your inbox. Please confirm your email address and you will be approved shortly. Welcome to ePartrade.